Hello everyone! If you're watching this video, that means that The Sims 2 has currently turned 20 years old. Yes, it was released on September 14th, 2024, or if I'm gonna be correct with the date order, the 14th of September 2024, because dates make sense in either ascending or descending order. It doesn't make sense when you kinda mix it up. So, why am I staring at this gravestone with my one and lonely sim? Everything will be made clear in a second. Please bear with me. This is not a very scripted video. It's also not a video that intends to bash The Sims 3 or The Sims 4. They are its own beast. I'm not saying that I'm only playing old games. I am actually having my eyes on multiple different life simulators that are threatening to come out soon. That's probably the wrong word choice. They're not really threatening me by coming out. Um, they're just probably gonna be releasing soon. I enjoy the genre, is what I was trying to say, but when it comes to Sims games in particular, the Sims 2 just strikes the kind of balance that other sim games do not for me. So, first of all, we have music switched off, okay? So, a couple of bad points about The Sims 2. It is not very customizable from the get go. I have the full, all expansions, all stuff packs editions. It just doesn't it doesn't have a lot of furnishings. If you're gonna select a furnishing, you can only place it in 2 rotations, so you can't place anything diagonally. You can't layer paintings. You can't layer clutter. Therefore, you can only have one item per surface. Therefore, it is not a game that is easy to decorate in by today's standards. This is a house that I was playing this for the past couple of weeks. So this is just a house that I built for my own needs of gameplay, and I can't say that it was the easiest experience just because compared to something like The Sims 4, the choice is lacking. Compared with The Sims 3, matching everything's colors are a lot more difficult. And this also goes for creation of the sim itself and of the small details like their haircut, their shoes, their outfits. This is just one outfit. The shoes are not separate from it. I could technically put on some jewelry on her if I wanted to, but it's just hair, glasses, outfit. There wasn't the most choice in The Sims 2 when it came to customization, and there wasn't the most choice in The Sims 2 when it came to body fitness. There was effectively 3 shapes that your Sims could take, 3 on the female Sim and 3 on the male Sim, which is they could be a bit buff, they could be a bit slim, they could be a bit overweight. That didn't really exceed any kind of big norms, so you couldn't create a very wide Sim, you couldn't do anything. Well, effectively, you could do a lot less with the shape than you can in something like The Sims 4. Once again, this is not a video about bashing The Sims 4. What I found The Sims 2 to exceed on, though, and this is one of the reasons why I can't move to other games, like The Sims 3 and The Sims 4 just don't play that well for me, and it is playing that I tend to be engaging in, not necessarily creative use of spaces, you know? I don't sit in build mode for 100 hours. I tend to sit in live mode for 100 hours. So that is what I care about, and it is the gameplay that The Sims 2 tends to exceed all other Sims games for me. And let me explain why. So first of all, we are currently in Jessica Peterson's From Belladonna Cove household. It might not seem that way because that is obviously not Jessica Peterson. That is one of her children. She has already died. It is not her gravestone that we're staring at. In fact, that is Vivian Peterson's gravestone. Actually, that would be a Vivian Peterson's child, but I also have one of Jessica Peterson's childs. So that is Jessica's Peterson's gravestone. Um, I have played in here for a while, but I started with a pre-made sim in Belladonna Cove. And unfortunately, when I moved her, her story kind of reset, so I had to just leave out a couple of screenshots and then grab whatever was left and cobble it together because I did want her beginnings to still be here. So the whole description of Jessica Peterson was that she was like feeling like a trapped housewife and she didn't want to just sit there and make babies. She was a wealth aspiration sim, so she divorced her husband and tried to strike out on her own. But she also had other fancies around town. For example, she fancied Carlos. Carlos is another pre-made sim. Okay, so now we have a bit of a story as to, well, actually no. That's a long story, what happened in Carlos's life and why he had two wives and why there is a child called Peterson without being related to the Petersons, but it doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is I took a pre-made sim to play with. She had her own BIOS. She had like a setup intention by the developers of where she would like to go and what she would like to do, but of course it is up to me as a player. The first thing that I really like The Sims 2 for, and why it plays so well for me, is unexpected events. And also inbuilt storytelling focus, which is something that you can see right here. Let me explain unexpected events. I, as Jessica Peterson, chose to marry Carlos, take his wealth, and move into this giant house that I built because he was a wealthy sim. Jessica Peterson mostly had wants to buy things. So I thought, hey, maybe she tried being on her own. It didn't work out very well. She wants some wealth. And the memory connected to the event for her was positive because she was marrying a wealthy sim. And I thought, hey, if he's sharing wealth with her and she's going to her work and work is like the most important thing for her, she of course wouldn't like mind having maybe one child with him, right? It's reasonable. Maybe she changed her mind. She doesn't hate children as much as she did. So I got her pregnant with Carlos. And the moment the child was born, a tree set on fire from a lightning strike from the rain. And the rain stopped. And the tree was still there on fire. There was only one sim on the lot at the moment, and that was Jessica with her newborn baby. And I thought, that tree on fire, probably not a good thing. Let me just get her outside and extinguish the tree on fire. And that didn't go very well. She died. So the only sim on the lot was a baby, with Carlos being at work. Well, there you go. That is a very unexpected event. I did not think that it was gonna go that way. I could have, of course, selected to call the firefighters. I didn't need to, like, run my sim out. But come on, it was one tree. I did not think that she was just gonna set on fire and die from trying to extinguish one tree. So she died. So I thought, hey, if I'm writing a story, her daughter's name was Aylin, how about I'm gonna write in that she died at childbirth, because she nearly did. She died directly after giving birth to that child. That is a completely unexpected event. So then I thought that maybe Carlos is gonna need some help. So I got him to marry Vivian, but Vivian had a daughter on her own, so now they have two children, and she wants a daughter or a son in order to like connect better with Carlos, because now both of the children, like one of the children is hers, the other child is his. That does not necessarily like a family make, so I thought maybe they would like to blend the families. But she also was like involved with Timothy, because the story for Vivian was setting her up to be with Timothy. So I thought, hey, it wouldn't hurt to, like, throw in a drama element by myself and get her also pregnant by Timothy. So then I was kind of navigating the whole cheating thing where I was hoping that Carlos wouldn't notice. He didn't, so that went fine. But also, other things have happened. Like, for example, Carlos lost 50,000 simoleons during one job event. I did not know that that was gonna happen. That happened because job events do a pop up, and the pop up there apparently cost me 50,000 simoleons, which was actually everything that this family had in their bank account. So this family went from being very rich to being very poor overnight. And then I tried to, like, get everybody to work as a painter. Like, I was outright exploiting child labor in here to just make sure that they paid the bills. Vivian aged up into an elder. They were having, like, good family life outside of the fact that everyone was super poor. Somebody dropped me off a genie lamp. And genie lamp apparently has, like, some risks in using it. But that was also unexpected. Like, poof, here you go. Here's a genie lamp. And that solved my issues with poverty because I just had a sim to wish for more simoleons twice. And that has definitely rebuilt the family budget. But navigating that whole life of my sims, I was also building a story and I was building personalities of, like, the children that are growing up in this house. So for Vivian's first daughter, Cho, that was unrelated to anybody, I thought, hey, she's now the oldest sibling. She has to learn a lot of things. I will set her to being knowledge based because she was learning how to cook in my household. She was preparing their meals. She was learning how to clean. She was cleaning the bathrooms. She was doing a lot of heavy lifting. Then Carlos's and Jessica's child, Aylin, well, she is now a bit of an alien because she has a stepmother, she has some step siblings, she has a father still, but she's an orphan. So I thought, hey, she might want to be like a family oriented sim. And even right now, it's kind of sad. She's in college. She's rolling, like, wants to spend some time with her family. There's only one living relative that she has at this point. Now, the Vivian and Carlos had another daughter. I called her Beatrice, and because Beatrice was growing up during the whole money issue, I thought I'm gonna make her a wealth sim, but the genie lamp appeared. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make her a romance sim, attracted mostly to the supernaturals, because she witnessed this event, she witnessed a genie saving her family. She like romanticized him in her head. And then I have Catherine, which is Vivian's and Timothy's cheated baby. She is sticking out as a sore thumb. She technically does not really have a family right now because she doesn't know her father. Vivian was being very, very careful about that. So if I go to her, like, sim page, she doesn't have a father. And why she's related to Beatrice and Atsu Cho through, Vivian, she doesn't have a mother anymore either. And her mother died as this last sim in the household. Everybody else already left for college. Her mother died just as she was growing up, and I was gonna send her off to college. And now I'm like, okay, so her best relationship before Etsu left to college was with her oldest sibling. I'm gonna model her after her. I'm gonna say that she's gonna be a knowledge sim because she was the mostly, related to that sibling. She spent most of her time with that sibling. She wanted to be just like her big sister. But at the same time, she now wants to go to college. But if she does, this house would be sold off because she is the only sim living here. And I thought, hey, maybe I could get her father to move in. But she doesn't know her father. She never met Timothy because Vivian was that careful about her whole cheating business. So she is stuck here guarding this property. She is gonna have an unhappy time because I'm not gonna be sending her off to college. I'm gonna be making her stay here, and then I'm gonna return some of the siblings back here. And I think it would mostly be fitting for Aelin and Beatrice to live in this house because it's her father's house, and the other two children don't have connection to the father. So eventually she's gonna move out, but she's gonna have a miserable time, I have decided. But there you go. In my gaming sessions, there have been 3 unexpected things. I lost Jessica to a fire. That was very easy to do. I had actually 4 unexpected things. I lost all my family funds to a random event at one of their jobs, at like Carlos's job. Then I got a genie lamp, which has saved me from poverty, and that was a bit of a gamble to use because genie lamps can backfire. And then the last member of this family, Vivian, died before her last daughter could leave for college. So now she is stuck guarding this house. I have now spent 10 minutes or more trying to explain to you what I have done with a singular family inside Belladonna Cove, which is like a pre-made neighborhood with pre-made Sims. How a lot of unexpected things that I did not account for happened to them while I was playing this family, how it has changed my gameplay, and how I have weaved their little like family story going forward based on that. The Sims 4 almost has no unexpected things that can happen. Everything that happens, you make happen. Even if you're trying to get your Sims killed, it's actually quite a struggle. Effectively, the game almost asks you, are you sure? Because you have to like repeat a specific action until they get like into a specific mood, and then you have to continue repeating that action. Even getting eaten by a cow plant takes like several tries. There isn't an unexpected thing that can happen in The Sims 4. And another thing, once again, as I said at the beginning, storytelling is inbuilt into The Sims 2 from the very beginning. If you click on here, if you click here, that is The Sims bio. Every Sim has this. When you wanted to take screenshots, they go this to story mode, and your screenshots are here. And then you can just collect them into like this little story right here. So this game is A, set up in a way that things that you did not account for happen, and B, it is set up in a way that encourages you to make a story out of the things that are unexpected that have happened. This is a lot of gameplay. Now let me add a third element that is quite lacking, not so much from The Sims 3, but definitely from The Sims 4, which is time pressure. As I said, here is Vivian's grave. We currently have rejoined this household just as she died. She like literally died right now. A whole bunch of like her family members went to college, she didn't. Vivian died. The moment she was trying to go to college, Vivian died. Do you want to know how long lifespans are in The Sims 2? In The Sims 2, Sims can live between 67 and 88 days. It is actually the shortest lifespan of any Sims games that have lifespans, and you can't modify this, unlike in The Sims 3 and The Sims 4. The Sims 3, they live for 90 plus days. The Sims 4, I'm taking the normal lifespans here, unmodified ones. Of course, you can modify them to be like short or extra long in The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, but in The Sims 4, 132 plus days. So the shortest amount that you can have a Sim in The Sims 2 live and die of natural causes, it is 67 days, because the shortest amount that they can spend being an elder is something like, I think, 9 days, and then they die. If you take care of them really well, then they can live up to 88. But now, the shortest amount that they can live in The Sims 3 is 90 days. That's not accounting for like the whole elder thing, where if you take care of them, they can live for a lot longer. that is now a big jump in days. And now you go to The Sims 4, and it's 132 plus days. Like, that is the shortest amount of time that your Sim can live in a normal lifespan. Out of that lifespan, 29 days in The Sims 2 is spent being an adult. The Sims 3, we have young adult and adult, so that day number increases to 42. And The Sims 4, 70. That is not accounting for the fact that The Sims 4, if your character gets pregnant, they stop them from aging while they're pregnant. The Sims 2 does not do that. Do you see like the difference in the amount of time that you have with any kind of one character? And that does make a world of a difference, because you know what? When there is the time pressure, you really have to prioritize. You really have to be like, okay, so what am I focusing this person's life on? What is the one thing that they want to achieve? If you're focusing on family, you might lose out on work. If you're focusing on work, you might lose out on family. And you know what? This is realistic. And this also encourages you to play with more than one generation, more than one sim, because you're not going to achieve everything in one life. And if you are, then you probably were going for an overachieving sim, and you pre-planned your gameplay in like a very, very specific way. Time pressure as a game mechanic actually adds to gameplay instead of subtracting from it. I am not unhappy that my Sims are pressured for time. I am not unhappy that she only has like 15 days to be a teenager and then she turns to an adult. I'm happy about that because it makes me plan as to what I want to do with her life. It makes me plan as to whether she's gonna have a family or not, whether she's gonna reach the top of her career or not, what skills will she max out, and that sort of thing. And this doesn't just like come for adults, though you mostly see it in adults because you do majority of your gameplay in adult stages. But let me skip The Sims 3 because their difference outside of adult and elder is not that big. They added a couple of days to being a toddler. But in The Sims 2, you have a baby for 3 days, a toddler for 4, a child for 8, a teen for 15, as we just seen. But now if you switch to The Sims 4, you have 1 day to be a newborn, 5 days to be an infant, which is effectively just toddler plus, 7 days to be a toddler, 14 days to be a child, 21 days to be a teen. Every single time when they introduce the game pack or an expansion pack that adds something to do for a specific lifespan, they will like, let us give you more time in that lifespan in order to do those things. This is supposed to be a generational game. I'm not supposed to just be running one sim and finish the game. I'm supposed to be having their children, and their children should have gameplay goals and perhaps, you know, a life that's different from their parents. If I do everything that you can do as a teen with my first sim, is that life stage exciting for me? Now, when I'm playing a different sim, no, because I'm repeating the exact same things that I have already done. So that time pressure is so unique to mostly The Sims 2 because it starts getting lax, more lax in The Sims 3, but it's not quite so lax that I can no longer play it. It's very lax in The Sims 4. It's the game that I can't play because I get bored trying to play it as a game, because it's not really a game, it's kind of like your perfect life simulator, I guess, your clutter simulator, your definitely make a doll simulator. It's not so much the gameplay aspect. Now, something that The Sims 2 is very different from The Sims 3 with, and once again, this is something that The Sims 3 excels in and something that is a sales point for The Sims 3. So this is not my like complaint of, hey, you know, don't do this. The Sims 2 works in a confined space. The Sims 3 works in a whole neighborhood. So you can like walk places with no load screen. Like right now, if I wanted to go somewhere, it has to be at a clickable distance. Otherwise, I need a car to drive there. And I have one, but I'm pretty sure that, oh, okay, maybe I can drive as a team. Or I would need to like call a taxi. If I go to a community lot, then the amount of time that I spend in the community lot will go backwards when I go back home. So like that time just hasn't passed, it's just that my Sims needs decreased. Majority of the gameplay that you're gonna be doing in The Sims 2 is not gonna be in community lots, it's gonna be in your house. What that means is that this is the space that has to be exciting. This is the space that has to have things happen in. When you go to The Sims 3, what happens is you need to seek out the events that are happening in your neighborhood, because the whole gameplay is centered around the neighborhood, not your specific house. So if you're just spending time indoors, you're gonna miss out on things. And the game will even like put moodlets on you that you have been stuck in your house for too long, please like go out and do something. That's not present in The Sims 2, because The Sims 2 gameplay, just like The Sims 1 gameplay, focuses on your family unit and your house. And that really works for me. The confined space works for me. The fact that things happen to me while here works for me. The fact that I don't need to go and seek out where the thing's happening, it works for me. This was once again not a complaint against The Sims 3, because that is a completely different game. This is me stating that this is one of the reasons why I like The Sims 2. Its downsides are also kind of bonuses for me. Now, let's go on to these, the balance of needs. The Sims 1 needs were very brutal to keep up. Majority of your time will be spent on needs. The Sims 2, that decreased by a little bit. The Sims 3, that decreased by a little bit. The Sims 4, that kind of, I think, rebalanced to be faster falling needs than The Sims 3, but quite not as fast as The Sims 2. I prefer the balance in The Sims 2. I can't really put it any other way. It's just my preferable balance. It's bad enough that if you have a pregnant Sim, they can very easily like die from hunger, because their need for sleep and their need for hunger will be falling really fast. And if their need for sleep is too low, then they're gonna continuously fall asleep in their food and they're just gonna starve to death. It's stressful to have a pregnant Sim. But for a regular Sim, you can kind of plan their day and that goes fine. You raise their needs, they go to work or they go to school, you kind of pay attention to that. It's not so slow that it's boring. It's not so fast like in The Sims 1 that you just can't do anything else but like take care of their needs. So this is the balance that works the best for me. And then when The Sims 3 released, I kind of called it a desktop background simulator, because the need balance was just that different. And I imagine that it was that different because the developers expected you to go out into the world and experience the whole neighborhood because it's open to you. That was precisely the point. But it doesn't work for me gameplay-wise, and this does. Lastly, let's talk to attention to detail. The Sims 2 has a lot of little things that other games kind of further in the series lost, and I'm gonna give you a very, very simple example. So let's take Carlos. Carlos, as a person, lived longer than an elder can ever live. You start him as an elder, but because he's supposed to be going on this whole adventure about figuring out whether he wants to turn his friends into lovers or whether he wants to like stick more with his niece's family, the developers thought you might want more time. So I think Carlos like starts halfway through his elder life stage, but then stays like an elder for 26 more days, which is just not a thing that you can do with a regular sim. I thought that my game was broken, but no. The developers just tuned this one specific sim. Carlos's aspiration was also popularity, but he had a secret aspiration, a hidden aspiration, one that has been turned off, which is romance, and he would roll romance once. When was the last time you saw the Sims developers bother to fuck with their own systems in order to implement non-player controllable Sims, townies, families established in the world that are actually interesting and that serve the kind of storytelling purpose that the developers made them to serve? Because I'm gonna tell you this, I don't think that they did this after The Sims 2. I think that The Sims 2 is the last time when they did something like this. And that is such a shame. And once again, the BIOS. Every sim had a BIOS written. Every sim has like a story. If we go back to the neighborhood, sure, let's save. Or let's not save. Let's just go. Every single family has like a little thing written about them if you click around. That is so much attention to detail. If you click into their household, they too will have like this little story that's already pre-written about what they're about. They're gonna have like their own friends and romance interests and possibilities, and this is a lot of work. They have even bothered, once again, to change Sims and how they behave by modifying the Sims file themselves to like make an elder live a lot longer than they should. Give them wants that a popularity sim is not supposed to be having, just as that extra attention to detail. And they stopped doing that. But then again, storytelling features no longer built into the future games either. So as far as I'm concerned, when you tell me about The Sims, I consider The Sims as a franchise to having peaked here. I know some people will say, oh, it peaked in The Sims 3. Some people will say it has peaked in The Sims 4. For me, it has peaked here. And 20 years later, this is the game that I keep on returning to. And this doesn't mean that in the future it's not gonna change. Once again, I am not so stuck up that I'm only like playing old games. For example, I'm really waiting for Planet Coaster 2 right now. That's gonna be releasing soon. But I have like my eyes on Enzoy, I have my eyes on Viva Land, and so on and so forth. If there is a good life simulator out there, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna enjoy it for its own personal cons and pros that are probably not gonna be comparable to The Sims because it's gonna be a completely different franchise. What's important for me is the gameplay aspect, that there is gameplay. And what I have learned trying to analyze why is it that I have been returning to The Sims 2 for the past 20 years, it seems that I have arrived at the fact that you have to have some sort of preset story, you have to be friendly for writing stories, you have to be putting so much attention to your world that you are creating very unique personas inside your world. It has to have unexpected events that just happen to me, and it has to pressurize me in some sort of way that only a game can. It can't be a complete sandbox. It shouldn't be my dream simulator. In the end of the day, it should be a game. And that's what I am looking for in future live simulation releases, I think. So thank you for listening to this very long rant. I hope that it has been enlightening, or at least somehow relatable or interesting in any way, shape, or form. I congratulate The Sims 2 with its 20th birthday. And yeah, I also have a couple of Patreon subscribers that help me be able to make these kind of videos. So thank you very much for them. I'm now gonna go and probably get me some dinner. And then when I can, I'm gonna be continuing the save file where I'm just playing. I'm not even like playing for YouTube. I'm just playing for myself, which honestly means that I like this game. And it's funny because I returned to it this September because I was like, oh, The Sims 2 like is turning 20. Let me just remember what the game was. I installed it, and then I couldn't put it down. And that hasn't happened for me in the Sims game in a long while. So yeah, this is a very unique gem. If you haven't experienced The Sims 2, maybe you should. It is considered abandonware, which means that you can get it for free online to download from interesting sites, because as with The Sims 1, EA no longer sells it. If you haven't experienced it, I think you should. If you only have experienced the newer games, I think you should. It's gonna be a very different experience because, once again, the pros of the other games don't really apply to it. But it's gonna be a very unique experience. And honestly, if you have experienced all of the Sims games, I would really like to know your opinion on this one and your opinion on the franchise as a whole. Because I was sitting here comparing them for 36 minutes now, so not just talking to myself would be pretty good. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you in my other videos. I do a bit of an occult stuff here, I do some gameplay. Currently, I'm just playing through retro games and I'm streaming them, and I'm sometimes doing video essays like this one on the games that I did enjoy. If you haven't seen my video on the Sims 2 website and the stories that people used to make, please watch that. I'm gonna link it up in here on this video somewhere. And thank you for watching. I hope that I'm gonna see you in my other videos. Toodaloo for now.